This is super interesting. The debate prep and the behind the scenes plan for how to defeat Trump in a debate has been revealed by NBC News on the part of Kamala Harris. And it looks like she's doing exactly what she needs to do behind the scenes to properly both herself appear at this debate, her delivery on things, but also how to rattle Trump so that he makes critical mistakes. Here's this from NBC News. Keep calm and get under his skin. How Harris is preparing for her first Trump debate. The prep sessions have been sandwiched between campaign stops, official duties as vice president, and preparation for her first interview as the Democratic presidential nominee. Vice President Kamala Harris has been diligently preparing for the debate stage for months. First, by gearing up to face the Republican vice presidential nominee, and now, over the past several weeks, to debate former President Donald Trump, according to 4 sources familiar with the Democratic nominee's preparations. The prep sessions have been sandwiched between campaign stops, official duties as vice president, and preparation for her first joint interview with her running mate, Tim Walz, which aired Thursday night on CNN. And we'll get to the key part of this, which is how to get under Trump's skin. I'm really happy that they're understanding the importance of not just being prepared on the stats and on the points and on the general takeaways she wants people to have, but also how sometimes separated from any policy issue, how she can strategically get under Trump's skin, bother him enough to disorient him. Because what have we seen in a general sense on the campaign trail? A really frazzled Trump since Kamala Harris became the Democratic nominee. He is not good at going up against Kamala Harris. He, as dishonest and dangerous as his rhetoric and campaigning was with Biden, he did have an effective campaign against Biden, clearly. He hasn't figured that out with her. And as I've been saying, if he can't figure that out with a script on a stage in front of a rally that loves him, it's going to be difficult on a debate stage when she can react to you in real time. Today, we're going to be passing 800,000 subscribers. Thank you so much to each and every one of you. Think about this, though. Now it's the home stretch to 1 million. And if all the people who regularly watch the show who aren't subscribed did subscribe today, we could be to 1 million instantly. That would be awesome. Make sure you've done it. Thank you so much. Back to the video. NBC News continues. That strategy includes Harris's possibly bringing up issues like Trump's failing to get Mexico to pay for the southern border wall, his response to the COVID pandemic, his failure to come up with an alternative health care plan after he tried to repeal the 2010 Affordable Care Act, and his inability to pass the kind of sweeping infrastructure bill that Biden signed into law. Harris can also be expected to hammer Trump on the critical role he played in pushing Republicans to back out of a bipartisan border bill that would address many of the issues he uses to attack Democrats. And later in the article, it talks about how Trump's campaign, one of his spokespeople, said Trump doesn't really have to do traditional debate prep. He's one of the best debaters. He's going to be incredible no matter what. And that was the reaction we got before the Biden debate. And it seemed like that was a risky strategy for Trump. It didn't work out in the sense that Trump went out on that stage and was a disaster in how he was lying. Didn't actually come off that well if Biden weren't having the night that he had, right? But because of Biden's night, and this was also noted by one of the sources within the Kamala Harris campaign, that if you just watch Trump, he actually had a terrible debate performance. It's just compared to Biden, it seemed like Trump, quote unquote, won the debate. But now Kamala Harris is going to be there, and she'll be able to hit some of these points more clearly and succinctly. And so before going through more of this really interesting reporting, here's my stance on this. First, what does Kamala Harris need to do in this debate? First, get under Trump's skin, for sure. Try to make it a contrast between a calm, cool, collected, strong Kamala Harris, professional Kamala Harris, presidential Kamala Harris, and a disoriented, angry, frazzled Trump. Unhinged. One of the things that made Biden win the 2020 debates was the fact that Trump just came off so angry. He also just sort of was sweaty and orange and ranting about stuff. Some of it was conspiracies. We didn't really know what he was talking about. And Biden stayed a lot calmer. Occasionally he would say, "Will you shut up, man?" But he came off as the presidential one in the 2020 debates. Kamala Harris needs to figure out how to trigger Trump into spiraling. And a part of what can get under Trump's skin is to try to make some of the debate about Trump. And that's what it seems like she's preparing to do. Saying, you failed to do this. You said you were going to do infrastructure investments. You didn't. We did. You said you were going to lower prescription drug costs. You didn't. We did, etc. You failed the handling of the COVID pandemic. We recovered the country from it. And then the key point she needs to make is that Trump is dangerous. He is a threat to democracy. He's a threat to reproductive rights. He's a liar on the issues. She needs to effectively, it's a long conversation figuring out how to do this, but make it clear in the moment that when Trump says she destroyed the economy or she's to blame for everything related to the border, it needs to be clear that he's such a liar. One of the ways you can do that is, and we'll talk more about this, but what was cited in the article being the issue of the border. Hey, here's an issue that Trump says I'm to blame for, but he actively got Republicans to obstruct solutions to. Maybe he's also lying on other issues. And a failure on policy needs to be portrayed to the American people from Kamala Harris talking about Donald Trump. And then I do think her brighter, more hopeful vision needs to come through. And that I'm sure will when she gets to talking about sort of her key points about an opportunity economy and how we're going to uplift families, because Trump will be over saying they're coming from jails, they're coming from jails, we're a third world country, we're a failed nation, everything's terrible, I hate my life. And if Kamala Harris can both get under his skin, make him more unhinged, stay calm, cool, collected, professional, and deliver to the American people, you can have that. You see him spiraling out of control, you can have that. Or you can have a much brighter vision, which we've seen in her rallies. Now doing it next to Trump will be even more impactful. And then she needs to be prepared for Trump levying the attacks at her of the border. And we've reviewed all these issues in terms of how she could respond many times in the past. The economy. Make clear a lot of the economic problems that you absolutely have felt in recent years come from an unprecedented crisis that impacted the entire world, that Trump mishandled and made things worse in this country, that then we had to come in and pull us out of the rubble of. Then energy, that's another issue I think he'll bring up, that you destroyed energy production. If she can be ready to go, he's saying that while we're actually overseeing record energy production, maybe he's a liar on these issues. And exposing that when he brings up something, and this is something the article said that she is going to do, make it clear that while he complains about problems, he doesn't have solutions. And he'll just scream about even the border, or he'll and then say the solution is just saying the words, shut it down, which is obviously not it. Or he'll scream about high prices, but he doesn't have comprehensive solutions to them other than drill, baby, drill, but we're already drilling at record highs. And so she needs to be ready to sort of expose that. This is a really difficult debate prep. I get that. There's a lot here. Then she needs to be prepared. She had a good answer in the CNN debate, but probably in the CNN interview, I should say. In the debate, she should probably be prepared to just flip things back around on Trump, because she doesn't have the time to explain what she did in the interview, which was on policy changes. Trump's going to be screaming at her, why'd you flip-flop on all these policy issues like fracking? And have a concise answer. Since 2020, I've had the same stance on fracking, which was her thing in the CNN interview, and then turn it back around on Trump. She'll be accused of being radical left. That one I think falls sort of flat at this point in time. And then she needs to be prepared to inject the context of when Biden-Harris took over, because Trump's going to try to make people experience this collective amnesia, saying she's vice president now, blame her for any problems, everything was great when I was president, and he'll try to get people to omit from their memory when everything collapsed under him, in part because of his mishandling of the pandemic. And that's so important for then Kamala Harris to point to. Look at how when it was time for him to lead, he failed. When it was time for us to lead, we recovered better than every country on the globe. And then make clear that she is proud of the record of Biden-Harris, because they've done a lot of good things, but has a vision for how to do even more ahead. And then some of the other key points from this reporting is tension over how to differentiate from Biden. So how does she make that point of, I'm not just Biden 2.0? Because even though we understand Biden has a super strong record, his approval rating shows a lot of people don't see that. And so she doesn't want to have to needlessly accept any political baggage that comes with Biden. But how does she both point to the successes of their administration and differentiate herself from Biden? It goes through some of the specifics of that. Does talk about avoiding what was described as a Tulsi Gabbard moment during the 2020 debates, where she was sort of unprepared for an attack, according to this reporting that came Gabbard's way. So being ready for each of those lines of attack, having a concise response to them, and then they're going to be preparing mock debates pretty soon where she goes through the motions with different fill-ins. So I'm really excited by this. I'm happy we got this reporting because it gives me the hope that they're hitting the right points. It honestly, when I was getting reporting about what Biden was doing to prepare with the Trump debate, something felt off, and then we saw it was off. They were having way too much in terms of discussions of really minute specifics, details on how many exact people have been impacted by this thing or that thing. That's not what these debates are for. I hate it. It would be cool if there were 5 hours and these thoughtful discussions, and one person can talk for 10 minutes and the other person can talk, and they can go back and forth and they can dive in and review studies in real time. That's not what this is. This is soundbite, 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 soundbite. And so what Trump unfortunately does, quote unquote, well, is repeat the same thing over and over. So everyone's going to walk away from the debate remembering that Trump said, people are coming from jails and insane asylums, blah, blah, blah. He'll repeat it a million times. And we had the best economy in the world. Russia wouldn't have invaded Ukraine. And Harris needs to be prepared with her own crisp, short, punchy talking points. They need to be honest, but they need to be simple. And they need to be repetitive and memorable. And I think on this show, we've gone through many, many times what some of those could be. But it already seems like the prep is better. And we've seen she's just a better speaker as well than Biden. So hopefully it will come off correctly, because this is going to be big. I know a lot of people, as I've mentioned, explain that in the broader history of presidential debates, normally it's not super consequential in an election. But when someone is as relatively unknown as Vice President Kamala Harris, meaning in the grand scheme of things, sort of last minute, she became the nominee, that means a lot of people are malleable on their stance about her, which is why we've seen a swing in her direction, which is exciting. A lot of people changed their mind or got remotivated because of her. And a lot of people are going to be watching out of curiosity. What does this matchup look like? Because we knew what the Biden-Trump matchup looked like for years. That's been going on since 2019, essentially. What's this matchup going to be? And if Kamala Harris comes out of it, where she had her clear points, you have memorable points, boom, 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 economy, border, energy, family, pro-family policies. Which party is the party of patriotism, respects democracy, respects reproductive rights, and delivers that effectively, and Trump gets rattled and is just spouting his normal lies, and then all the networks have to, except for right-wing ones, fact check all of those afterwards, and it's a story about the unhinged liar versus a sharp, well-prepared presidential Kamala Harris telling the truth. That could make a huge, huge difference. That could be consequential, unlike most presidential debates. Let me know what you thought of that in the comments. If you want to get extra content daily, you can do it by clicking the join button below. That also supports this show.